talking about picking up a lot of action in M15 between Nissa, Court of Calling, some threats like Hornet Queen. Seemed like a deck that was prone for a breakout because it was already pretty good before M15 and then picked up a lot of action.
So this should be interesting to watch. I mean, it's almost like two goldfishing decks in a way, and they're going to do battle here. Now, the big kind of innovation to the Gen Planeswalkers deck that both those players at the Pro Tour had is they had Elvish Mystic in their deck. They had more acceleration, which Elvish Mystic seems like it's kind of out of place, but accelerating a Planeswalkers is a big game.
The deck's already pretty good when it just casts its spells on time. Being able to cast things ahead of schedule, and then you start getting some really explosive openings.
Now, one Planeswalker that I don't see Lowry has in his main deck is kind of a surprise. No copies of Chandra Pyromaster. One of Anthony's favorite cards. He does deploy some more acceleration there in Elvish Mystic and Sylvan Caryatid. So he does have a Chandra in the sideboard. You have to believe, if you know Anthony, he's not going to leave home without one, as this is a Burning Tree Emissary for long. He'll follow it up with a Voyaging Satyr. You can see the Nykthos in his hand, so both players off to pretty good starts here. We'll see if Lowry does have a Planeswalker to cast.
And then Nissa in Daniel's hand ready to be deployed very soon. So Anthony's all dressed up. Does he have anywhere to go?
Don't have a great look at his hand right now. Again, he does have 5 mana on turn 3. Could play land and have 6 mana. As far as the Planeswalkers are concerned, there are 4 Nissa World Waker here for Lowry, along with 4 copies of Xenagos the Reveler, 2 copies of Vraska the Unseen. He's got a boatload of removal, as well as there is a Vraska. That's going to take down the Voyaging Satyr. So we're going to take a look at this promotional Vraska. We'll bring up Vraska as well. The Unseen Planeswalker, it's kind of a different card because the +1 ability on the card really doesn't do very much, but the minus ability is quite good.
Yeah, the plus power just makes it annoying to get rid of Vraska through combat, which helps get you to the ultimate, but also not something that gets ultimate very often. Yeah. It's usually just, you're trying to use the -3 power twice is what this card's going for.
We do hope we have some Assassins on hand because we wouldn't have to fire anyone.
Yeah.
That would be unfortunate.
Yeah. Shroud somehow still kept his job after.
Not quite sure how after
really,
last week.
Really shocked. I mean, human resources, that's a little outside of my jurisdiction in Cersei games, but I'm still just blown away,
Another copy of Voyaging Satyr in here for Daniel Long before passing the turn back. Of course, no good attacks that we had with the Burning Tree Emissary. Vraska's going to tick up, so I can't imagine Daniel will attack that. You can see Lowry's hand right now, though. There are 2 more copies of Sylvan Caryatid. It looks like he's going to deploy both of those, and his last card in his hand has a Vraska. So one thing about this deck, and I think part of the reason that we saw Mondin play 4 copies of Read the Bones, is you need some help as far as finding the appropriate cards in the right matchups.
Not only that, but, you don't have a lot of sources of card advantage, and then you also have a lot of implied dead draws, whether it's redundant Planeswalkers, Anthony with another copy of Vraska in his hand, whether it's mana acceleration after the point where you really want it. So Read the Bones is really valuable for smoothing out your draw and just giving you enough resources to work with.
A Forest here for long. Still no interest in deploying the copy of Nykthos just yet, as you do see him tap and untap that land for Voyaging Satyr. Now here is a copy of Genesis Hydra. It's going to be for 3, so we'll take a look at the top 3 cards, and he is not going to find very much that he likes there. Lowry's going to take a look at Genesis Hydra. We're going to do the exact same. The thing that actually makes Hydra very interesting is that first line of text. When you cast Genesis Hydra, reveal the top X cards of your library. X in this case was 3. You may put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of your library. Now, note the when you cast. So, if this card were to be dissolved, for example, the second part would happen, and the card just comes into play. You're not even casting it like Bloodbraid Elf would be.
Yeah, it does have some legs in the control matchups for exactly that reason. Though, in this spot, Daniel does not have a lot of cards to really hit. It's basically just mana creatures. I guess Courser Crufix could have come off as well.
But you did not see Daniel deploy his Nissa, of course, because there is a Vraska just sitting there, as well as Elvish Mystics, that could kind of go after that thing if a removal spell were to take out the Burning Tree Emissary. So, the Hydra is going to come down. It's just kind of a boring 3/3. Vraska's going to get cashed in here. It's going to take care of the Hydra, and Lowry's going to follow up here with another copy of Vraska, and he's going to go after the Burning Tree Emissary, just keeping things off the board, keeping the devotion low, and now attacking here for 2 with the Mystics.
Just trying to keep the game in a place where all of his top decks are huge.
Yes.
The board's clear. He has a lot of mana to work with, but he is risking Daniel finding one of his own big draws.
Burning Tree Emissary does come off the top here for long. You can see the Nykthos that he's had in his hand for some time now. Also has that Nissa still. And the last card there is an Ilea's Disciple. So again, kind of just a goldfishing mirror here. Who can do the most powerful thing the fastest? So far, it's been Lowry.
Lowry's interacted quite a bit so far. I mean, there are 3 creatures in Daniel's graveyard, all of which have gone through Anthony's Vraska.
That's an emissary. Trigger will be on. Gonna add some mana to the mana pool. This is a Nissa, World Waker. And of course, the elevator can only go up, so it will, up to 4. That force is going to become a 4/4. And now Voyaging Satyr will untap that forest.
Ooh, fun.
And in we go after that Vraska. Really nice turn there from Daniel.
Yeah. This is a sweet design.
I like this card a lot. I really do.
I like that Daniel has the 1 Darksteel Citadel. That's apparently become an industry standard here.
Yeah, it's very,
very
adorable.
Yeah.
It's indestructible, you see.
Right.
You can't stop it. It's just going to keep attacking for 4. Lowry's going to chump block here. Going to go down to 1. Of course, the creature does have trample. That's kind of just thrown in there, so that's exactly why you do see Vraska tick down. Now Vraska's going to tick up, so bring it on, Forest. And now, a Xenagos. And Xenagos is going to start at 3. I imagine we're just going to get a Satyr token here in just a moment. The question, of course, is how does Anthony want to use that Satyr token? As he does ask, how many cards do you have in your hand, Daniel? Daniel just has 1. And it's that Nylea's Disciple that we know about.
Trample is really powerful against Lowry's board right now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And there is a Satyr token that's necessary for our Xenagos. And again, Lowry trying to figure out exactly just how to attack here in this board position. You want to get this off the board if you can. But Nissa's, you know, the ability to turn creatures into lands are doing a nice job of keeping Vraska, for now, contained.
The worry here is if he gets to untap, Daniel may be able to create a wall that basically can't be attacked through with this Nissa.
That is the issue. So here comes the Satyr token. I imagine this is going after Nissa, and it is. So we're going to go down to 2 on the World Waker. Long is going to untap. Again, Nylea's Disciple in his hand. We saw him put the very powerful Hornet Queen on the bottom of his deck from the Genesis Hydra. The draw this turn was a copy of Elvish Mystic, and it looks like that's going to get deployed in just a moment.
Though there are 2 copies of Hornet Queen in Daniel's list, which I like a lot.
I like that a lot. Hornet Queen, when we do watch this deck, it seems to be always the card that the deck is looking to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, you can't play 4 of them. It's a 7-mana spell. You have to work your way there, but it is a pretty gosh darn good spell if you can find it, as Nissa's going to tick up again and turn a forest into a 4/4 Trampler.
Another interesting element of Daniel's deck here, only 1 copy of Court of Calling. That's a card we've seen 3, 4 copies of when we've seen Green Devotion on camera, considered to be one of the largest incentives to build the deck, but only 1 here.
There will be some attacks that are taking place here, and we will find out exactly where they are going, and now I think we're beginning to see exactly what's taking place here. So, those forests are going after the Xenagos, and Burning Tree Emissary is going after Vraska.
And I like this attack from the Burning Tree Emissary a lot, because Daniel said, it's basically him saying, I'll trade Burning Tree Emissary for Vraska happily, and if you want to put one of your Sylvan Caryatids in front of it, that's 1 less blocker you have to protect Xenagos. So it's an attack that's, you know, on the surface, you know, it's not the most impressive thing in the world, but it is basically free for Daniel to do in this spot.
And like you, I like this attack a lot as well. So we're going to see what kind of blocks Lowry has to make. I also like that it makes Lowry make a decision on what the best blocks are. What cards does he value in the situation? How highly do you value your Xenagos? Are there good blocks to be had? Of course, those 4/4 forest tokens do have trample. We can't forget that.
And it looks like Daniel may, in fact, get a chump block of an Elvish Mystic out of this Burning Tree Emissary attack, which is just awesome for him.
Yeah, you can see right now, Lowry is valuing his Xenagos very highly. It looks like these may be our blocks here. If that's the case, those Caryatids are going to bite the dust. And Xenagos is going to go down to 1. So that will be the block. And then a chump block there to keep Vraska alive. So you can see that Lowry values the Planeswalkers very highly. But the other thing to keep in mind is that I don't think he knows that this is coming. And this is actually important to have a 3/3 back, as Nykthos is going to add a bunch of mana. Here's an Nylea's Disciple now.
And a great turn here. And Voyaging Satyr still ready to untap one of the 4/4s as well. So combat's going to be really hard for Anthony on the way back, and he's lost a fair bit of his board just trying to protect his Planeswalkers for 1 more turn.
And what this is just a demonstration of the power level of Nissa. Now, of course, all the toys that are working here are pretty good as well. Voyaging Satyr in combination with Nissa is quite good, as Vraska's going to take up here. But this is showing the power of Nissa Worldwaker right now.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel had nothing going on this game. I mean, look at this. Look at his board here. It's a bunch of mana creatures. A Genesis Hydra didn't flip over anything. And Nylea's Disciple, but Nissa is providing all the power this game.
A lot of permanents got blown up by the Vraskas.
And
not quite sure exactly what Lowry drew this turn. He's going to use his Planeswalkers here. It looks like he's going to tick up Xenagos. Lowry could use a Nissa of his own.
now, ticking up is interesting.
Museum Mortars is a card. 3 copies.
So is Rakdos' return.
So there's Nissa. Okay.
Also his own Nissa.
Of course, that elevator does go up. That's the only way it does go. So now Stomping Ground is real tough. It's a 4-4.
Yeah, noteworthy clause about Nissa. It's not basic forest.
Correct. Correct. As you mentioned, Rakdos returned 2 copies here in Lowry's deck list. Does have 3 copies of Mortars, 3 Dreadbores, 2 Golgari Charms, an ultimate price, 2 Read the Bones, and a Singleton Putrefy. And Lowry's going to decide exactly where he can go with these attackers here. Needs to be careful, though. Again, that Voyaging Satyr can make a surprise blocker. We're going to see if he sees that.
Yeah, I think an attack here by Anthony would be disastrous. I mean, Daniel has a lot of control over blocks and can probably keep Nissa alive and eat up a fair bit of Anthony's board.
And you see Anthony right now, he is, he put that Satyr token in front of Voyaging Satyr to say, okay, you're going to block like this, you're going to do this, and I'll be able to get through. But in reality, that Voyaging Satyr is actually just a 4-4.
Yeah.
You tap that, you untap the land. That's what you do. And we'll see if Long does see that and if Lowry sees that. I think that's the big thing here. It'd be a tough lesson to learn the hard way. Yeah, I think he may have just realized that, oh, okay, Voyaging Satyr would untap, it would eat something, and that would be a disaster for me. So just going to pass the turn back. But that's not great either, because that means Nissa gets to activate and turn another land to a 4-4.
And Daniel's very much on the front foot in terms of just raw power in play.
Absolutely.
So this Nissa that Anthony just drew may not have a very long shelf life.
One thing we can't forget as well for Vraska is it did take up to 3 last turn. Vraska's destroy a non-land permanent. So those lands that are in play that are 4-4s, Vraska can't touch those.
And can Anthony afford to lose Vraska next turn, getting rid of Nissa, and then,
Nissa may have done too much at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Anthony's probably losing his Nissa this turn. Xenagos is cranking out 2/2s on the board full of 4/4 tramplers.
Feels like a Mortars game to me.
Yeah.
Now, if Anthony does find Mortars and has the appropriate amount to cast it, it's probably lights out. But
that's the other problem, too, is if Anthony's losing his board along the way, he may not have enough mana left over to plus Xenagos and generate enough mana to overload of Mortars, even if he draws it.
Yeah, he had the mana before with the Caryatids and everything, and the Mystics. He drew a lot of mana acceleration over the course of the game, but that stuff has been whittled away here as he's been trying to defend his Planeswalkers. And you see Long is going to decide exactly how to attack and what's the best way to further decimate Lowry's board here.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Daniel wanted to make some sort of effort to get Xenagos off the table this turn to protect himself against that Mizzia Mortars.
You can see everything get organized here.
I think with this attack, if it is as it appears with Daniel sending his Disciple and a 4/4 at Vraska, he's saying, I'm keeping Nissa. I'm willing to give up a fair bit to keep my Nissa in play.
See how the blocks are going to take place here. Okay, it looks like we've got 2 lands going after Lowry's Nissa. You've got Burning Emissary going after Xenagos. Then you've got the Nylea's Disciple and another 4/4 forest going after the Vraska. So putting a huge importance on getting Vraska off the board this table, because that means, as you mentioned, he wants to keep his Nissa. Now Lowry's going to make some blocks here to keep his Nissa alive.
But the pure number of resources are being squeezed here, and I do not believe that Anthony can keep up with the board. He can't keep doing things like this. The game has to get to a point where he's casting Mizzia Mortars. That feels like that's the catch-up here. And these blocks, yes, it preserves the Nissa for another turn, but I do not think that's a long-term solution to what's going on Daniel's side of the table.
You see a bunch of things are going to trade, and a bunch of things are going to die here. Now you've got the Vraska stuff here as well, so that means that those things are going to die as well, of course, because of Vraska's plus. So after the board settles, now Mortars is basically off the table. Of course, Vraska can untap lands. But yeah, I think that right now, that's off the table.
I mean,
don't have a great look at what Lowry drew this turn.
Lowry does get to at least force some blocks on the other side from Daniel this turn.
There's maybe a Dreadbore. It's an ultimate price. So now we're going to untap that. This is going to tick up. Here's Overgrown Tomb. Will it attack?
I mean, an attack is pretty rough here because Daniel just gets to crack back.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes this really, really difficult.
Daniel even has the option on this block of saying, I'll put the 4/4 in front of the 2/2 and chump block. He can go even as well.
That's going to go down to 2. Okay. Round and round we go. Both players' resources dwindling very quickly here. But Daniel Long, the one that has maybe the more active of the two Nissas. Because let's not forget, you know, and you can't, I don't think you can target Nykthos with that.
No, it's any land.
Is it any land? Okay, I apologize.
That's why the Darksteel Citadel isn't here.
Ah, right.
The combo.
Right, the combo. Thank you. And you can only untap forest, but you can make any land
Right.
into a 4/4. Thank you.
I think Daniel targeted the Nykthos because he drew a Nykthos this turn, and if Lowry draws a removal spell, he wants it targeting a Nykthos and not a forest.
Dreadbore probably the best draw for Anthony this turn.
It's not shabby. If he draws a removal spell for the Mystic,
he can finish off the old Nissa.
Yeah.
And he has to just try to beat that 4/4. This looks like a Courser. Okay, so he ticked up. Top card is a Courser, pass the turn back.
but now I believe Anthony is going to lose his Xenagos this turn.
That is likely.
I mean, if Daniel forces the issue, there's no way for Anthony to block. Just by making another 4/4. I guess he could double chump block and keep Xenagos around for one more turn, but that does not seem like a long-term solution.
Another 4/4. Everybody feeling it.
This means that not even a double chump block can keep the Xenagos alive.
Yep. Yeah, assuming he's doing a lot of attacking at Xenagos here. You get the, you know, the free hit, take care of the Mystic, then you can take care of Nissa on the swing back. So that's not so bad.
Although attacking with the Elvish Mystic here means that Anthony has 4 power in play.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, you know, the Mystic is gone now, so, you know, and that doesn't really do a lot. There's another Xenagos. Now you get to finish that off. Now, of course, the question here is, okay, can I beat these two 4/4s? I drew a Courser, which I can't cast. My top card is Xenagos, which I also can't cast. Maybe I find a land, maybe I don't, but he's got to contend with these now.
Well, the thing is, the only thing that attacking with the Elvish Mystic did last turn is prevent Anthony from being able to put Courser in front of a token, a Satyr in front of a token, and keep Xenagos in play.
Yep.
And if you're in Daniel's seat, if he double chump blocks there,
you're happy.
aren't you? That's totally fine, right? You run the next turn back. So
there's Mortars. That's interesting.
I think it was a little unnecessarily aggressive of Daniel to send in the Mystic on the previous turn.
And Daniel now, you know, he has a Nykthos in his hand that he can't play because if he plays that Nykthos, he loses a 4/4 creature. We'll see what Lowry double blocks here. And yeah, he makes the double block that I agree with. He's only going to lose 1 creature here. Yeah, I was going to say, he's certainly going to lose the Courser.
I mean, Anthony has stabilized at this point.
He can come back here. Because Daniel's hand is very, very expensive. He draws the Mortars. He's going to fire the Mortars, get that off the table, in for safe to attack. His opponent has one land.
Yeah. mean, Anthony is clawing back now.
A Darksteel Citadel's the draw.
Almost.
Yeah. Can't cast the Burning Tree Emissary.
It's not free. I'll tell you what, it's not free.
It does have a cost to play. It does. You see his hand again. He's got a Genesis Hydra. He has a Hornet Queen. And Lowry's at 2. There's a G-Charm, which he can cast. So here's an attack for 2. Long as he can go down to 22. Now, that's a long road ahead for Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
But if he finds a land that can cast a Courser, we're looking at an interesting game here as Daniel finds a land that can cast the Burning Tree Emissary. So things are starting to shift a little bit.
And I think, is Daniel just going to go, trying to go for a kill here? He did the option there of just...
Casting the Hydra for 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not in love with that.
Yeah, I prefer holding off here. Next turn, you get so many more looks at things. Also, you get a 2-2, which is really nice when Anthony's at 2.
Yeah. And if he draws a Burning Tree Emissary, for example, it becomes much bigger.
Yeah.
There's a land. We'll see if he wants to cast the Hydra for 2 this turn. Could just hold off. Also, let's not forget, even though Lowry did draw a land that turn, it was a copy of Temple of Malice. Still can't cast the Courser. Only 1 green source of mana out there. Lowry's hand right now, he does have that Courser as a copy of Xenagos. Also a Golgari Charm, which he can cast. It's going to be a Hydra here for 2. So we're going to take a look at the top 2 cards, see if any of these are going to be cast. Hit 1 and 2. The answer is no. It's a Garruk and a Forest, so those are going to go shuffling away.
I think the tiebreaker here is that Daniel has a copy of Nykthos in his hand, so he wants to get the 4th green mana symbol in play regardless.
Sure.
And again, he has 2 lethal creatures in play at this point.
Yeah, Lowry's going to have to get a little creative with this charm. Should be pretty interesting. Plays a Temple. Again, can't cast the Courser. He's not dead, which is interesting.
It's incredible. And I think if you go back, I think Daniel sending in that Elvish Mystic sort of set the stage for all these events to shape up.
Absolutely. Daniel has not played a land yet this turn. Again, he's got Nykthos. He's got another land in his hand. And he has a Hornet Queen. Now, if we were to play Nykthos this turn, it would generate 4 mana and then 5 and 6. That's not enough to cast the Hornet Queen just yet. So, we play on. No Bs here just yet.
Though I suspect Anthony is not going to be able to win the game in time before Hornet Queen becomes a factor.
That's the big question. Now, will Long attack? And the answer is no. And I kind of like the no attack there, because he gets closer to casting Hornet Queen. This is a Temple. Take a look at the top card. Lowry going to decide where he wants to put that. Feels like a Xenagos turn for me, if I'm in Anthony Lowry's seat. I mean, if you don't know the card he's looking at.
If he played his land before casting a Courser, then it seems like it has to be.
He's going to put this card to the bottom. There is Xenagos, the Reveler, Satyr token incoming.
It's been great to watch Anthony claw his way back into this one.
Yeah, this has been actually a very, very interesting game between these 2 decks. It normally feels like kind of just a goldfishing matchup, but both players have had a lot of interaction, as there's a Forest drawn there for Long. That's a Nykthos. This will be 4 mana. Make it 7. It's a Hornet Queen. Now we need bees, and a whole bunch of them. So 4 Hornets are going to come into play. 4 insect creature tokens with Flying and Death Touch. So there those are. But again, the Golgari Charm plays a huge role in this game. There are your attacks. There are your blocks. So now it's Hornet Queen versus. If you're Lowry, you're looking for a card like Mizzium Mortars, or heck, even a Dreadboard just to take care of the flyer.
Yeah, Daniel's not going to have a lot left over after this is all said and done here. So it's just, can you can Golgari Charm this turn. Maybe he finds some life points with the Courser. The Hornet Queen itself still threatens lethal here, but Anthony does not need that much help to clean the last piece of the puzzle up.
Anthony trying to figure out exactly how he wants to navigate this whole thing. Drew a Sylvan Carry added for the turn. Knows that he has to cast Golgari Charm, so you saw him separate the 2 mana to be able to do that. Satyr token looks like it wants to maybe attack. He's a little unsure of himself still. Going to start with the Courser. Top card is a Temple. That'll give him some info, and that'll gain him a life. He's up to 3. Take a look. It's a copy. Ooh, boy. Read the bones.
That looks like one that's likely going to the bottom here.
There's another copy of Charm, which you'll see next turn. There's a token, and he just passes the turn back.
And even Golgari Charm is not a terrible draw in the face of Hornet Queen. When Anthony has a Courser Crewfix in play, every land is -1 damage. Yep. So Golgari Charm still covers him essentially for a turn.
Here come the bees. There's a Charm. So I'll take care of all those. And Hornet Queen will only deal 1. So Lowry's going to go down to 2. You saw Long's draw this turn. It was a good one. It's a copy of Garrick, Caller of Beasts. Timely.
Yeah. And Anthony had almost clawed his way all the way back, and now another wave of cards will be coming shortly.
Well, he needs a little luck on his side. 3, 4, 5. Mystic, Nylea are the only cards that are found.
But even Elvish Mystic is not bad here because it gives Daniel another chump blocker to protect Garrick and get another run at it next turn.
Yep. Had he not found a blocker, it looks like he just passed the turn back. He didn't play it. Wow, Mizzium Mortar is the top card. That is a pretty big mistake there from Daniel Long because Lowry now can make a Satyr token, get after that Garrick, kill it dead. So there that goes. Mizzium Mortar is the top card. Gonna play a Sylvan Caryatid. Has the Charm to make himself only go down to 1.
Well, now the problem is that Nylea may generate a lethal attack if Daniel has one more mana.
He needs 8 mana to do that. You see his hand, there's a Mystic, there's a Voyaging Satyr, and there's Nylea. I do not think he has the mana to do that.
And now he can't really empty out because of the mortars.
Which he knows about, sitting right there on the top of the deck from the Courser. You saw Charm get cast -1/-1 there. Hornet Queen deals 1. Lowry goes down 2-1. Now he's going to play an Elvish Mystic. And this is a Voyaging Satyr as well, but he's playing this all right into the mortars. Here's an Nylea as well.
Yeah, I think that Daniel needed to leave some of this in reserve so he could try to reassemble Devotion with Nylea at least.
I agree with you. Because, I mean, here's a mortars that he just knows is coming. So all this stuff is dead. You know, that's not a surprise at all. Maybe he wasn't looking at the top of the deck, but that was public information. That's another Satyr token. This is an attack here for 8. Nylea is not going to be able to turn on next turn. So now it's on Lowry to get this game over with.
Yeah. So the most dangerous draw at this stage, I suppose, is the 1 Court of Calling in Daniel's list. That allows him to get a creature at instant speed.
Yeah, it's not a forest, that's for sure. That's what he drew. Lowry draws a card. There's another copy of Xenagos. Doesn't need one of those. Gonna make another token here. This will be an attack for 8. Actually, let's make it 10. There's an Elvish Mystic. Pass the turn back. And now, draws a copy of Court of Calling. What can that be?
Well, he does not have enough mana to cord for Hornet Queen.
It's a cord for 5 right now.
He only has 1 Nylea's Disciple on the list.
Already cast it.
I mean, he can go get something like, you know, a Pelucranos. That's no real help here.
Yeah, Arbor Colossus isn't going to help. Disciple he's already got. So he's just going to pass the turn back over to Lowry. Lowry's going to draw the copy of Xenagos. There's a Temple. That's going to put him up to 2. We'll take a look at the top card here as he scries. It's Temple of Malice. I imagine he's going to put that to the bottom. We'll give away a little bit of information. Just another copy of Courser here. Xenagos is going to tick up. There's another Satyr token. You have to imagine he's attacking with everybody and just hoping for the best. So here it comes. This will be a Court of Calling. And I think if you're Anthony, you're just basically saying, okay, do your worst. I think Daniel's even casting the Court just saying, I don't even know what I can find.
Yeah, for 3, there's Courser Crewfix and Reclamation Sage.
Yeah, that is game number 1. It's going to go to Anthony Lowry clawing his way back in a very entertaining game between him and Daniel Long. Jund Planeswalkers up a game over Mono Green Devotion.
Yeah, that was incredible. I think there was enough, you know, the turns got very complicated there with both players having competing Planeswalkers and how you want to navigate that. Again, I think if you just go back many turns ago.
It's all about that Elvish Mystic,
That
isn't it?
Elvis Mystic attack, losing that, which allowed Nissa to be killed on the way back, which left Daniel with insufficient power to keep up. That was the turning point.
Let's take a look at the sideboards here. You see both players going to their boards. We'll do the same here. We will start with Daniel Long. What's he got in his sideboard?
A Phyrexian Revoker, a Phyto Titan, 3 Unravel the Aether, an Arbor Colossus, 3 Nylaia's Disciple, 3 Cetacean Tactics, and 3 Mistcutter Hydra. So I guess Phyrexian Revoker is fine for this matchup. There's a lot of planeswalkers. Yes, I mean, it is a one-toughness creature. It doesn't get swept away by Golgari Charm. It's probably pretty easy for Anthony to kill, but it feels like it does some work here, but I'm not a huge fan of much of what he brings to the table in this matchup.
Other side of things here for Mr. Anthony Lowry. He's got 4 copies of Mistcutter Hydra, 2 Scavenging Ooze, 2 copies of Doomblade, 3 Thoughtseize, a Chandra Pyromaster, and 3 copies of Anger of the Gods. You have to like that one a lot here. Now, Lowry does have mana acceleration of his own in Sylvan Caryatid and Elvish Mystic, but Anger of the Gods is great against this Mono Green Devotion deck.
Yeah, it's very hard for Daniel to do much of anything without a base of mana acceleration and devotion. So even if Anthony's stuff gets swept up a little bit, I think he's fine with that.
Love the copies of Doomblade. Everything can be killed in this matchup with that card. You can make an argument for Thoughtseize. Chandra Pyromaster, as far as one-toughness creatures go, I don't think there are a ton. There's Elvish Mystic, there's a main deck Reclamation Sage, but not as good as you would think against this deck.
Yeah, the only incentive I could see for Anthony to bring it in, there's 2 things. One, you can combine it with Anger of Gods to take out a 4 toughness creature, which matters for Courser of Crufix.
Okay.
The other thing is maybe he wants to kind of get away from his many creatures in a general sense if he's bringing in Anger of the Gods. So Chandra may be below average for the matchup, but if it's part of some larger plan, it may come in.
And then there are a couple copies of Scavenging Ooze here, which are perfectly acceptable cards in this matchup. I don't know how many cards he wants to move in and move out. You can see Anthony is still sideboarding here, kind of making that decision.
Scavenging Ooze is really nice in conjunction with Anger of the Gods, too.
That's
true. A very easy way to win the game.
That is definitely true. We're going to take a look at our state championships right now. Autumn State Champs will be happening in October, right after Grand Prix Orlando, oddly enough. And if you do win, you get one of these sweet play mats. You also get a medal. A medal! Can I get you a medal?
Sure. I'll take it.
Okay, I figured you might. October 11th and the 12th, StarCityGames.com/states is where you can go for more information. 52 of these bad boys. There's what we're going to be running across the United States and Puerto Rico. So you can find out more information again at StarCityGames.com/states. Spring States was such a success that we decided to bring it back for the autumn as well. October 11th and 12th, the weekend after Grand Prix Orlando.
Yeah, and Standard should be a relatively new format.
Brand new with Contatar here coming out as well. Looking forward to that format. We've got some new wedges there, and it looks like Morph is coming back and more information about that. Actually, for cons, I don't look at the information too much because I like for it to be a surprise.
Yeah, no, I like going to pre-releases and sort of just allowing the experience to be as it was intended.
Hey, that's something that's never gotten old for me over the course of playing Magic for, I think, almost half my life at this point, is when it's pre-release time, you're always refreshing the page to see what's been found all over the websites and people previewing cards. It's always fun to watch, so I'm really looking forward to that new large set to come out. It certainly will shake things up in Magic, I imagine, as it's an Elvish Mystic to start things off here for Daniel Long. Lowry's going to play a Temple of Malice. Take a look at the top card.
It's not even just about what rotates in, but also what rotates out.
Yeah. And now it's a turn to Courser of Crufix. I think we'll see a lot of that card post-rotation, as the top card is Pelucranos.
Alongside Sylvan Caryatid, I imagine.
The 1-2 punch. They are good friends. This is a stomping ground untapped here from Lowry. So let's see what he wants to do on the second turn of the game. Looks like there's a copy of Dreadbore here. Looks like he's considering casting that right now on the Courser. Maybe even the Elvish Mystic to slow down the mana acceleration. But it'd be a little awkward if he didn't cast it at all. And he's not going to cast it at all. But I guess he's got a charm.
Yeah, he may be waiting for the draw step here to see exactly what he wanted to do.
Okay, makes sense. Does it on the draw step, sees what the top card is for Courser, and then he kills the Courser, and now he's got the Dreadboard in reserve for the Pelucranos, so a pretty good turn.
Yeah, this is nice. Good sequencing. Might as well see what's going on.
Yeah. Rakdos to return the top card here for Lowry. Going to start by playing a Temple of Malice. We'll see where that top card goes. How do you feel about Rakdos return after sideboard?
Not great in this matchup, but if Anthony thinks the games are going to be played over Planeswalkers, maybe it's worth having one copy in. It does seem not that well suited for this matchup.
One card that is rather well suited is that Dreadbore, though. Can take care of Planeswalkers like Nissa or large creatures like Pelucranos. See if he wants to fire that off this turn, or he could play Sylvan Caryatid. And those are the decisions that he's making right now. As you see him thumbing between both cards. A little unsure of himself, but he says, let's get the 5/5 off the table, and I like that play as well.
Well, it sort of just depends on what next turn looks like for Anthony, because the matchup really isn't that much about damage racing. It can come up sometimes, and Nylea makes that very likely to come up, but it's not like taking 5 against Burn where it's a huge cost. You can take some lumps against Green Devotion and then stabilize the board from there.
Long with 3 cards in hand, another copy of Nylea, along with, looks like 2 copies of Genesis Hydra. Lowry is going to play Xenagos. He will push the 0 button to make a Satyr token and simply pass the turn back over to Long, who's working on getting his Devotion up. Darksail Citadel is the draw here. Okay, Genesis Hydra is double green in the casting cost, so getting a little closer to turning on that Nylea. We'll see if he wants to cast the Hydra here for 3, and if he does hit something, he could actually turn Nylea on. So it's going to be a 3/3. We'll take a look at the top 3 cards. It's a Burning Tree Emissary, so that's pretty good. Elvish Mystic and a Forest. We'll go to the bottom. We'll actually look at Shuffle It In, excuse me. But Burning Tree Emissary is going to come into play. It'll generate some mana, and now Nylea is on, but it does not look to be attacking, oddly enough. I'm a little surprised by that decision.
Yeah, that feels like a freebie to send in there.
Lowry is going to play an Overgrown Tomb untapped, as we are underneath 14 minutes in the match now. Does have a Rakdos Return that he could cast. You see the other copy of Xenagos in his hand. That's not going to help very much. There's also a Nissa hanging out over here. And it looks like he will go with the World Waker. So, of course, again, that elevator can only go up. He will untap some lands. Only 2 forests on tap right now, which means he can deploy Sylvan Caryatid if he'd like. But it feels like Lowry's in a lot of trouble this game. And you can kind of see the awkwardness of Rakdos Return. He's never had a great time to cast it.
Yeah, by the time he's able to cast it, Daniel will probably have cast his entire hand. Now, it does answer, he has enough mana at this point where it would answer a Nissa or a Garruk if Daniel finds it, but given what's happening on the board, that's not really priority number 1.
Saw Forest with the draw here from Long. Again, he's got another copy of Nylea in his hand, but the other card he has is another copy of Genesis Hydra. He may have some interest in casting that this turn, or he may hold off. We will see. He definitely has good attacks right now, however. Again, all of his creatures will have trample due to Nylea. And then there is the ability to pump. I say all of them. Nylea does not give itself trample. It says other creatures when they attack get trample. So, in we go. And we are going to have some blocks here. See how Lowry decides to manage things. We will also find out where those creatures are attacking, if they're going towards Planeswalkers or Lowry's life total. I imagine Planeswalkers, but we'll see.
Hey, keep in mind that Nylea is other creatures have trample.
Trample, correct. And they're all going at Nissa. So Nissa's going to bite the dust. Down go a bunch of these Satyr tokens. It seems as though Lowry's trying to work himself towards something this game. Maybe a card like Mizzium Mortars, which he's very close to casting. Take a look at the top cards. Copy of Dreadbore. Could take out the Hydra this turn.
Yeah, I mean, he has to do whatever he can to pin that Nylea. He cannot allow Daniel to reestablish Devotion here.
So there's that. Dreadbore's going to take care of that. This is a pretty good turn to cast that Rakdos turn. Opponent only has 2 cards in hand. There's a Satyr token. Could attack if he wants to. But there is the Rakdos Return. This Rakdos Return is actually really important because it gets rid of that Genesis Hydra.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Now, of course, Daniel's got some really fantastic top decks here, and he does have a Nylea to dump mana into. But that was a big turn as he draws a Forest.
The problem is going to be really tough for Anthony to protect his Planeswalkers at this point, unless he draws something like Mizzium Mortars. He needs a real sweeper.
See if Lowry has any interest in blocking at all here, as they're both going at Xenagos. So because a block here, he gives this trample, it's going to be 2 damage over. So basically, he's just losing a Satyr token in that exchange. He's forcing his opponent to actually use the Nylea. But he might be better served, as he does play a Stomping Ground tapped and then play Xenagos again, because we're now in the same position as last turn. If he has another Satyr token, his blocks are probably better.
Yeah. No, I think you need to let it go that turn. Because the thing is, you're pretty confident that Daniel did not draw a spell that turn, because he probably would have cast it before combat to turn Nylea on.
Yep.
So making Daniel spend his turn there, it's not that good.
Now you get to block a little bit differently this go around. And this will allow him to keep his Xenagos alive. You know, basically what Anthony's doing here is saying, okay, which creature do you want to kill? Do you want to kill my Caryatid or do you want to kill my Satyr token? The choice is yours. So now there will be some trample damage that does take place. Yeah, so that's going to go down to 1, not 2, which is fixed. Just going to pass the turn back. See what Lowry can draw this turn. Oh, it looks like it was a spell. It was.
That's the best spell.
Yeah, that's the best spell he could find that turn. As now he can turn the tables completely. Xenagos will allow him to make a Satyr token and attack, and now things have changed drastically. I believe he's drawing another land. There's a forest, but now he's tapping mana, so he's got a spell, 6 mana. That's a good spell. It's a copy of Garrett, Caller of Beasts. So now we turn over the top 5 cards. The Burning Emissary, an Elvish Mystic, a Nissa Worldwaker, a Forest, and an Nykthos. So those 2 smaller creatures will go to the board. More importantly for Lowry, a Nissa Worldwaker is going to the bottom of the deck.
Although this does give, again, Daniel a chump blocker this turn.
Yes, it does.
And things might get pretty ugly the following turn.
Temple of Abandon is the top card. Take a look at this. See where Lowry wants to put it. Devotion is almost on here for Nylea. Now Lowry has to figure out what the best attacks are, if they even exist, as both players are sitting at 16 life. Under 10 minutes to go here in this match. We're only in game number 2. Didn't know this one was going to take this long.
No. Both of these have been really drawn out affairs.
They've been back and forth.
Yeah.
Really, really back and forth. Lowry going to put it down to 1. Now Garrick is going to tick up. And 5. Wow, 2 really poor Garricks here. Just a Burning Emissary. But a Genesis Hydra was the draw step. We missed that one. Yeah, now we're going to drop a Burning Emissary down. There's another Burning Emissary. Those are both free. Now you're going to get the Cast of Genesis Hydra. It's going to be for 5. Not only does he get a 5/5, now he gets to look at the top 5 cards. Nylea's Decisive isn't so bad. Stats and Tactics will have to go to the bottom. That's information for next game for Lowry if we do get to it, as long we'll get to shuffle those. And you're going to gain a whole bunch of life. We'll make it 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, even 12 life. And now this one, Patrick, may be out of reach for Anthony Lowry.
Yeah, even if he finds Mizium Mortars, it's not clear he has enough power to finish the game in time. Because with that Nylea in play, even the Elvish Mystics that Daniel draws are really tough on Anthony.
Yeah. Not to mention, he just has a lot of big draws in his deck every turn. Hornet Queens, Nissas.
Right.
Looks like we're just going to let that Xenagos go. Now, Mizium Mortars is the best card I think Lowry can draw yet again.
It's almost always going to be Mizium Mortars against this deck.
And Lowry says, all right, you got this one. He's going to pack it up very quickly instead of playing more turns, because the clock is certainly a factor at this point. You have to imagine when we do start this game, there'll be about 5 minutes left to play. So Lowry's going to take a look at the sideboard. Daniel Long's going to keep shuffling. We'll see if either player does move anything in or out here in just a moment. Pretty fascinating 2 games, though.
No, they've been really back and forth. I mean, and the winner has been kind of up in the air the entire time. It feels like it's a little tough in this matchup for Anthony to protect his Xenagos.
Yeah.
And in many matchups, you know, you have removal spells, you play Xenagos on an empty board, you're probably going to be able to keep it for the whole game. That doesn't feel like that's the case against Mono Green Devotion, and a lot of the Jump Planeswalkers deck looks like it's hubbed around Xenagos staying in play and being pretty easy to protect with a 2/2 token each turn and whatever removal spells you happen to draw.
Seems rather important for this deck. Game 3, again, will be underway in just a moment between these 2 players. And actually, we're going to stay right here because it does look like Game 3 is going to start right away. So, I thought there might be more shuffling, but these players do realize that, hey, time is of the essence right now.
Yeah. Although we are on the short side of the 10 rounds. We're at 460 something, I believe.
Yeah, a couple of late stragglers did come in. So, yeah, we're around right around the 460 mark.
So X1 and 1 should be a solid record for this tournament.
Yeah. Going to start with the Thoughtseize here from Lowry. You're going to see 2 Forests, Nylea, Corsair, a Phyrexian Revoker, an Elvish Mystic, and a Nylea's Disciple. That Mystic looks kind of nice.
It is tempting, although Nylea is the biggest long-term problem in the matchup for Anthony.
Lowry going to start the game at 16 to cast that Thoughtseize. And it looks like he's going to go with the Corsair. Leads me to believe that maybe he has a removal spell for the Mystic.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to allow Daniel to ramp his mana unchecked here.
Again, a lot of removal spells here, no? You see a Doomblade, but this is a Temple of Mana going to pass the turn back, so it doesn't care too much as another copy of Nylea is drawn. A Forest comes into play. 4 long. He's going to deploy a Phyrexian Revoker. We'll find out what that is naming in just a moment here as Elvish Mystic does come into the red zone.
This is a very dangerous opening to do against a deck with Golgari Charm.
And he did name Xenagos with the Revoker. Not too much of a surprise, as you mentioned during the sideboarding. That card plays a huge role for this deck. Yeah, Lowry with the Doomblade in his hand, trying to pick a spot on when the best time to use that is. Long does play a Forest, so he does have access to 4 mana right now. There comes the Revoker.
Seems like a very tempting spot to use the Doomblade when your opponent doesn't attack with their mana creature. It
maybe
often represents that I'm planning on tapping out post main phase for something. So I think that might have been a good spot for Anthony to use his Doomblade inside of combat. And given Daniel's hand, it would have been his entire turn.
Yeah, it would have ruined him.
Yeah.
Would have ruined him in a big way. Revoker is going to bite the dust. And now here's Xenagos. This is a big card for Anthony's deck. Revoker was shutting it off, but now it's back on. The Satyr token just going to hang out for a little bit. Quarter calling the draw here for Long. You can see Long does not have the mana here to really do a lot. Again, he's got another copy of Nylea in hand, and now he's got Nylea's Disciple to cast. That's going to gain 4 life for him. So he's going to go up to 24, and we're 1 devotion away from the God of the Hunt being online. But had Lowry cast that Doomblade on the Elvish Mystic in combat, we might be looking at an entirely different game altogether.
Well, I think he wanted to definitely set the stage for this Xenagos. You can't do that in the face of the Revoker. So you can see Anthony he did pause there momentarily when Daniel did make his attack. He did contemplate that play.
This is a Thoughtseize. That's going to take care of the Garruk. Again, leaving Long with a Cord and an Nylea. Cord could be for 3 next turn or 4 if a source of mana is drawn. Lowry going to cast Anger of the Gods.
Or for 0, I guess.
Yeah, not so good now. Not so good now. Now he's going to make a Satyr token afterward, coming across for 2, and this is exactly what we were talking about with Anger. It kills so many things against mono green.
Though, if that was the sequence, I'm really surprised that Anthony took Garruk instead of Cord of Calling.
Well, I guess the thought here is what's the worst that Cord can do? I suppose, you know, if he takes Cord, you know, Garruk, we're so far away from that.
So far away, yeah.
We're going to make a bunch of mana, and now the World Waker's coming to play. Temple of Mana is a 4/4, and now Daniel Long is underneath it. He draws a card for the turn. It's a copy of Pelucranos. That was his draw the last turn. That was his draw this turn. He only has 3 mana, cannot get that online. And one thing that Lowry is able to do with Nissa is he can close the game out real fast.
Yeah. To back up to the previous play, the Garruk is predicated on Daniel drawing 3 mana sources in a row, and certainly the Cord is more productive after the 4th and 5th mana sources.
Sure.
Are you really worried about losing this game if Daniel draws 3 straight forests and then casts Garruk?
Not at all.
I mean, he's going to die next turn, probably, so.
Yeah, due to that attack there for 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, there's a Pelucranos. Lowry can show him the Putrefy in his hand if he wants to, but he doesn't have to cast a single spell. Yeah, he will cast the Putrefy and say, I will attack for lethal, and it only took him about 3.5 minutes, but he got it done. Anthony Lowry with Jund Planeswalkers. He's pretty happy that he could get it done that quickly. Wins over Daniel Long 2-1, and he moves on to 3-0.
Especially after 2 very drawn-out affairs of game 1 and 2.
Yes.
To win game 3 in 3.5 minutes is really nice.